Hi guys, it's Candy Campbell. Skint to Mint, it's my business. It's all about teaching young people at savings, investment and property. But Skint to Mint have produced a Money Well Spent podcast. This podcast is going to feature crazy guests, featuring crazy stories, all focused around money. I want to thank the Heart of England for actually giving the money to actually produce this podcast and bring it into reality. But the first guest is Tony Kelly, ex-professional footballer, and he's got a crazy story featuring crazy amounts of money. So, Tony, tell us about your background and how you came in here today.
Firstly, cheers. Thanks for having us, Kennedy. As you say, it is a crazy story.
It's a crazy one.
And I think it may shock a few people, but I think that's the reason why we're here. We're here to be real. We're here to be, sharing our stories. I think is really important.
100%.
I think that's one of the reasons why I'm happy to come on this platform. My background is professional football. So like thousands of kids, growing up in Coventry, wanted to be a professional footballer.
Personally, I like tennis. People might hate me, but I like tennis.
No,
I like tennis.
Nothing wrong with tennis. I love tennis. Sam Press back in the day, yeah. I know I'm showing my age now. Anyway, but yeah, I do love tennis. But football was my passion, right from 8 years old. Yeah. Growing up in Coventry, watching Brazil, 1974 World Cup with Revellino, Jairzinho, etc. So that was my passion. That's where I thought, right, I want part of this. And we've got a big family. We're a footballing family, and started out like many kids, under 9, under 10s, playing local football, Cannon Cockerels in Coventry. And then I went basically playing for the school team, Woodlands. I went to Woodlands Secondary School. And then it just progressed from there, really. And it's one of them where you just hope that at some point you're going to get an opportunity whether that's, they call them academies these days, but, whether that's to get into academy or get an apprenticeship. And I was fortunate to get an apprenticeship at 16. And I suppose
that's crazy.
Yeah, 16 was when I got my apprenticeship, which is these days as they call a scholarship. Yeah, 2-year apprenticeship, 16 to 18. It was a wrench moving from Coventry to Bristol, so I had to get used to that.
That's a big move. That's a really big move right there.
Really big move. Leaving friends and family behind, etc. So that took, I suppose, a lot of guts and courage from myself and my twin brother. There is 2 of me.
Oh my gosh! Let's see the other one.
There is 2 of us, and we are very close. So I've got to give him a mention, otherwise I won't be happy. But yeah, we went to Bristol together and played for Bristol City youth team. It started well from that point in terms of what I achieved at an early age, because I became the youngest player ever to play for Bristol City's first team.
That's a big achievement.
Yeah, 16 and 244 days. But unfortunately, with my ability, I didn't have the right attitude. So the first crushing blow or rejection, so to speak, was being released from Bristol City at 17. And then obviously the story goes on from there.
It's a big question right here. Were you rich growing up? Growing up, did you have a lot of background in wealth, or was it hard coming up?
I'd say it was. I always say to people that I had a very good childhood. So the support we had, the support network we had as young kids was brilliant. So we didn't want for anything. We didn't have a lot of money as such. Yeah, my mum and dad worked really, really hard. My mum in the Needham market. Yeah, they worked really hard to provide for us all. There's 7 of us, so it was really, really tough. But in terms of being wealthy, we didn't have loads of money, no.
But so you wasn't wanting for anything. So how did it get from not wanting anything to becoming a footballer? How that path align?
So from the time, as I said, the passion was all about. It was all geared to being a footballer. So by that I mean from the school days to playing to Coventry schoolboys. It was all geared to trying, our hardest and having the desire. And the main thing you got to have the desire, and we wanted it badly. Me and my twin brother, and as I said, we come from a footballing family. My older brother Errington obviously played professional football for a few years. My other brother Abby played high level semi-professional football. So, as a footballing family, it was just ingrained in us all. And I think from the time we got to Bristol City and having that taste of the professional football world, so to speak, I think that's when. But getting released from there, I realised, I want more of this. And there's lots of, young players that get released at 16, 17 and go the other way and end up on the streets, etc. But for me and for my twin, although he didn't turn professional, but for me, I said to myself, you know what, I've been released, it's a setback, and that's all it is. It's a setback. I moved to London, signed for Dulwich Hamlet, a famous, well-known professional football club in South East London. and then just said to myself, I'm going to play in semi-pro football, and I'm going to, strive to be pro, and hopefully someone will spot me. And obviously that opportunity did come when I was 21.
What was your first paycheck, and what did you spend it on? What's the first job you ever got, and what did you spend your money on?
Well, I was playing for St Albans City, semi-professional football club, which is along the lines of, I suppose, Leamington. And I remember playing Stevenage Borough, who obviously are a pro club now, but back then they were a semi-pro club, and on Tuesday night. And it was the next day that I got the phone call. I remember sitting in my missus' house in Enfield, and it was Alan Ball, God bless him, the 1966 World Cup player, and he was manager of Stoke City. So, he asked me to come down for a chat about a contract, and I think that was when the realisation that something big is happening here. So, went down to Stoke, went to the Victoria Ground, met the board, met the chairman, met Alan Ball, and we had a chat, and obviously they offered me a professional contract, 3-year contract, and I think
3 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
21. I think my whole world changed. Basically, my whole world changed, because I went from being a postman in North London to actually now becoming a professional footballer, which is obviously my dream.
What's the feeling like there?
That feeling is just it's hard to explain, but I think when I walked into the Victoria Ground, I remember Alan Ball's words was something along the lines of "You've now hit the big time." And
I would love to hear them words. I'd love to hear them. Sometime soon, I'd love to hear them.
It's great to hear them words, but it's also a little bit daunting, because you now know that you're going to be playing into the thousands of people, and that has its own pressure. But the fact that I signed a 3-year contract in the second division, it was amazing. And obviously my family were happy, and my twin brother was happy, and everyone's proud of me. And then you asked the question, to answer your question about the first paycheck. So I got, which is crazy when I think about it, I got £15,000.
Oh my gosh.
In January 1990 when I signed for Stoke, and I got £15,000 to what we call a sign-on fee. And I was living in a hotel, because the club put me up in a hotel, which is what a lot of players get when you sign for a club before you look for a property. And at this point, I'm 21. I've had 3 years of gambling. Because I started at 18, so I wasn't a gambling addict as such, but I had a little bit of a problem. So when this 15 grand, this points my bank account, there's another temptation. There's a huge risk of, is this going to escalate? Yeah. And I think that was probably the biggest problem in terms of escalation from that point onwards. What did I spend it on? I know I saved about £5,000 for a deposit on the house, because I wanted to get out of the hotel. And then I bought my first house about 3 months later in Stoke-on-Trent. So, yes, some of it went to good use, but the rest of it, unfortunately, went in the horses' mouths, so to speak, because I was obviously gambling on the horses, and obviously, and then that escalated into the casinos.
What's the most you made from football? So you saying you got 15,000 your first paycheck, but my first paycheck, Sports Direct, I was working out in there, Central 6. Shout out to Rowan, got me the first job at 16. That was about £200. And that £200 didn't last one day. It went on the pair of trainers, Jordan 1s. And that
had to be Jordan 1s.
It had to be Jordan 1s, and it went. So my money wasn't always spent good. And I seen your money, oh my gosh, 15,000, that would be straight onto a house. Right now, with my mindset, straight onto a property. Yeah. Straight there.
Well, you'd be doing the right thing, and I think that's the important thing, particularly for young people today, young people that get an X amount of money. Yeah. It's about, I speak to my daughter a lot about managing money.
Yeah. When did things start going wrong?
I think definitely when I signed for Stoke. What initially happened then, before I went to Stoke City, I was obviously living in London and Enfield, so I wasn't really introduced to casinos. But then when I went to Stoke, and there was about, like many clubs back in the day, there's a group of players that all love their betting, love their gambling, whether it's at the bookers or whether it's casinos. Yeah. And we had about 6 or 7 of us at Stoke that liked to bet. And then I got introduced to the casinos. And once I got introduced to the casinos, I think that was a turning point in terms of my gambling escalating.
Describe to me how bad it was. Describe to me the times where you looked down and you're thinking, what am I getting into?
My sleep deprivation was terrible, because you're always stressed. So the stress, the anxiety, and the depression. So sometimes I'd just miss training, because that's the way I felt. And then obviously my form was very, very sporadic.
Yeah.
This is not just at Stoke, but the 6 clubs that I played for. That sort of pattern that continues throughout my football career, sporadic form in and out the team from one week to the next, because my mental health and my mental state wasn't all there. In terms of financial losses, you know, you've got situations where I haven't paid for my car, for instance, and I get my car repossessed. And then I remember going to having a bad day at the casino or a bad week, and knocking on Lou Macari's door, the manager at Stoke City, Lou Macari's, and asking for a sub. And I didn't tell him what was happening. You know, I've said it many times about the denial factor of a problem gambler. We keep it to ourselves. It's a secretive addiction. That's what we do. So I didn't tell him about what's happening. But the shame of actually having to ask, you know, my boss for a sub.
And for people that don't know, what is a sub?
So a sub is something that you'll borrow money off, whether it's your employer, and they'll take it back out your wages, etc. So it's from petty cash normally. The cycle is very difficult to break in terms of you're not going to just wake up in the morning when you're gambling addict and say, I'm going to stop gambling. You're going to have to get professional help. I don't know what the losses were, but in total, in terms of my whole career, it accumulated to £500,000 with all the clubs I played for.
Oh my gosh, £500,000. If I could see £500,000 right now, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'd be so happy right now to see £500,000.
I've lost money. You know, that's basically it. I've lost money. Money can be replaced. You know, possessions can be replaced. And you know, one of the big things that I talk about with gambling addiction today in the UK and with the work I'm doing is the fact that, you know, gambling addiction and suicide are getting more serious and serious and are linked together in terms of 100%. Mental health. And so the fact that I'm here talking to you guys is, you know, I'm lucky and one of the fortunate ones. My probably rock bottom, I would say, would be the bankruptcy. I went bankrupt in 2010, £192,000 bankruptcy file, which was 32 creditors. And I've said before, in terms of when you exhaust all avenues of borrowing, i.e. friends and family, eventually it's going to be crime. And then eventually, for some people, unfortunately, there is no hope. And we call it the hopeless stage, where you feel there's no way out.
Before you came onto the show today, we asked you, can you write someone's name down and give someone's number of someone that's been there supporting you throughout the whole time?
Yeah.
And you put Patricia Kelly. Yeah. And who's that to you, and why did you put them down?
Patricia Kelly's my sister. She's been on the journey at various different times. I know I've talked about the work that I do today, and one of those things is in terms of what we call affected others, and that could be friends or family. And you know, members of my family have been impacted in a certain way, some more so than others. And my sister has, you know, been a support throughout this journey in terms of, you know, well, she'll explain herself. Yeah, so that's why.
That's probably Patricia now, so let's see how she feels about the situation.
Okay.
Hello, Patricia?
Hello, yes, Patricia speaking.
Okay, it's Kennedy. We're here with Tony as well. We're on a podcast.
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, so we'll just talk about Tony's gambling, and I just want to see on your side how you felt about it. So how do you feel when Tony actually went through the situation and he was gambling a lot and he was losing a lot of money?
I think, you know, as a family, and being the only daughter and being the only sister, we've been on a real terrible journey. And I've been with him, and I've given him advice, and he's not always heeded to advice. I've been through sort of so many emotions, you know, after giving him advice and then helping him financially with money, and then still finding that he's still, you know, so I help him out with X amount of money to help him out of a situation where he could lose his home, and yet he still goes back to gambling away that money. And myself personally, I feel like I've made a sacrifice in terms of loaning him money, because I've got my own family.
How do you feel about how far he's come now, and the fact that he's writing books about gambling, influencing young people to get out of their situations of gambling?
Yeah, I mean, I feel really proud of him. I mean, he has faith, and you know, I've supported him as much as I've struggled with him, and I found it hard, you know, to say no to him at times. I feel that now he can fulfill his mission.
Thank you for coming on to the podcast as well and talking to Tony. I hope you have a great day. We're just going to go back to Tony and see how he feels about this call as well.
Okay, brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, God
have
bless.
A great day.
Take care. Yeah, and you. Take care.
Tony, how do you feel about hearing your sister say them emotional things about you as well? The fact that how far you've come as well, the trials and tribulations as well.
Yeah, well, as I said, I think she has been on that journey like other members of the family, and they all have. And the word she used, victim, yeah, they are victims, those that are affected others, because they're just as much impacted as the gambler. But I think the most important thing really is that she stayed with me, like all my family have to this day, and they've seen, as she said just then, the light at the end of the tunnel. I don't think she or any of my family 7 or 8 years ago would have thought that I'm going to write 2 books and I'm going to be a CEO of an organisation and I'm going to go and educate people. Not even myself. I still pinch myself today to think, wow.
Tony, this might actually bring you up, or this might actually make you very, very sad. But behind me, I have what you spent in 6 months. Tony, do you want to hold this money?
Yeah.
How does it feel?
It feels lovely. It feels lovely, to be fair.
£50,000.
You know, gambling addiction is a mental disorder. And when we talk about people sharing stories and testimonials and, you know, having the courage and strength to do that, I think that can be a powerful tool.
I 100% agree with that. But Tony, we have 3 questions from the outside public. I put up a social media with your face. I said, do you have got any questions for Tony about gambling? And
someone's probably going to say, give us that 50 quid back.
Someone said, can you transfer me £20? Someone did say, can you transfer me £20? Mikey said, what's your favourite machine to gamble on?
Machine. So the one of the biggest losses that I suffered was something called FOBTs, which are fixed odd betting terminals. So I got addicted to these machines and lost a hell of thousands of pounds from 2000 onwards, because they were integrated into the bookmakers in the year 2000.
Ben said, do you feel sorry for the people when you spent this massive amount of money? Did you feel sorry for the less fortunate people that didn't have this much money and you're spending it in the matter of 6 months?
The best way to answer that is, I'll be blunt, is no. And the reason being, because we have to, and people that are going to be listening in, and people that read my story, etc., we have to understand what gambling addiction is. And how it plays a part in our life, how it plays a part with your mental health. You know, it's a serious mental health disorder, and it's an illness. And so you can't, you know, feel sorry for this, that, and the other when you're ill.
At least you've actually influenced people, and through the use of your book, which is Red Card. Where's this available, Red Card?
Red Card came out on May the 1st, so it's available in Amazon and Waterstones and WHS and all bookstores. So and that book takes me through the whole journey up to the present day, because in the last 7 years, I obviously set up Red Card Gambling Support Project, which is an organisation about prevention, education and awareness for young people in particular. So it takes me to the present day and how I basically started my recovery journey and got to a place of where I am today.
So Tony Kelly, ex-professional footballer, lost over £500,000. Is this money well spent? Could you look in the camera? Tell the audience that's watching right now, all the young people, is this money well spent?
This is definitely not money well spent. Hear what I've been telling you, and just basically don't go down my pathway, because it's a long way back.
And where can we find your social media and everything that you're promoting today, the Red Card? Yeah,
so Red Card, the website, everything's on the website, www.kellysredcardconsultancy.co.uk. That's Kelly's Red Card Consultancy.co.uk. I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook.
Thank you, Tony, for coming on today. Guys, this has been the Money Well Spent podcast. If you enjoyed it, subscribe down below and just give us your comments and feedback down below. And you can find me on Skintman on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn, Kennedy Campbell. Thank you guys for listening.
Thanks, Kennedy.